ladies and gentlemen, doctoral candidates, and esteemed colleagues, Dr. Harry Bellingham.
Thank you, Dean, and I also want to welcome you all to this very special occasion. Graduates, to put this event in perspective, it's worth noting that even to be admitted to a Capella doctoral program, you need to have earned a master's degree from an accredited university. So, you have lots of experience with commencement exercises. What you need to know, though, is that a hooding ceremony is unlike any previous commencement event you've experienced. And that's what I'm going to talk about tonight. And that's why I'm so honored to have been invited to participate. This is a big night, a great night, but it's your night, not my night. It's you who have earned the right to be here. I'm just a guest at this ceremony, and I thank you in advance for including me. It will come as no surprise, I'm sure, to learn that I haven't always been a faculty chair at Capella University. In fact, I've had several previous professional lives, one of which was as a high school English teacher. It's from that experience that I drew the reminder that this is your night, not mine. I recalled Huck Finn, who one night praised a blessing, even though it had been pretty lengthy, because, as he said, it didn't cool the food a bit, the way them kind of interruptions usually do. So I'll do my best to be sure that what I share with you is more than an interruption, and that I don't hold up your party so long that the hors d'oeuvres get soggy or the food gets cold. You'll be happy to know that I have just one point to make. I hope it turns out to be one you find useful. What did you first notice when I came to the podium? My race? My age, my title, my general appearance, size, goatee, that stuff, or maybe how nervous I appeared, or calm, or however you perceive me. Nervous, by the way, is the right answer. Or perhaps my past. Remember, I told you I was a recovering English teacher. Maybe you have a similar background, or maybe you don't associate English teachers with your fondest school memories. Or maybe you noticed that with all the books I must have read, I chose to cite The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Huck's got some baggage after all, right? Most importantly, what did what you noticed about me tell you about me? I hope nothing at all, because that's what being doctoral is all about. At its very foundation, being doctoral is about being scientific rather than ideological. Scientists look to facts to discover truth. They are fundamentally curious. They want to learn. Ideologues assume they have the truth and look for facts to support their assumptions. They're passionate, but they're not curious. Their curiosity was satisfied once they learned their truth. And just in case you had an ever so brief ideological moment when I alluded to Huck Finn, let me give you another literary allusion, this time from an author less controversial than Mark Twain, this time from Charles Dickens. This citation also fits my theme, my single point, which is that with your hooding comes lots of opportunity, but also the responsibility to approach life as a scientist rather than as an ideologue. Dickens' most famous sentences were the first two of A Tale of Two Cities. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. That novel was published in 1859, just 34 years before the publication of The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Both novels describe amazingly tough times. The former times in the pre-French Revolution cities of Paris and London, the latter times in the pre-Civil War American South. You're about to be hooded at a time which some are describing as the new worst of times. And there's no question that these are tough times, that millions of Americans are really hurting. In fact, few have not been hurt either directly or indirectly by the economic crisis we've been dealing with and with which we continue to struggle. However, as a scientist, my observation of history forces me to declare that these are anything but the worst of times. For someone who's just lost a job or someone who's been without one for an extended period of time, that's not going to be a popular message. I get that. But as a scientist, I have to tell the truth as I've learned it. And I have to get to the truth by assuming that until I've investigated all the available data, I don't have the truth. That's right, all the available data, not just the facts that support the outcome I wish were the truth. As a scientist, you don't get to cherry pick your facts. So I would argue that you graduates are about to cross a bridge that will change your lives forever. I'm confident the change will be for the better, but I'm equally confident it will not necessarily make your lives easier. Well, you say, won't I have more opportunities? Yes, I respond. You certainly will. If I hadn't earned my doctorate, I couldn't be, standing where I am now, saying what I'm saying, living the life I'm living. You're right, you'll have new, different, exciting opportunities, and I couldn't be happier for you. But that doesn't necessarily mean your life is going to be easier. I argue that your lives will actually become harder, but they certainly will become better. Harder, you ask? Let me give you one concrete example. Does anyone in the auditorium really believe that the success of talk radio, cable television news, and the political blogosphere, driven by ideologues on both the right and the left, signals a movement toward a more rational approach to solving our country's problems? No. What any reasonable person would assume from the level and tone of our current political discourse is that the voice of reason, the voice of the scientist, is notable by its absence, not by its presence. So, the role of citizen scientist is a pretty lonely one in these divided, difficult times. But that's who you are now, a citizen scientist. The months between now and November are going to be especially challenging for us, I imagine. I suspect, based on my own observation of the political landscape, to be faced with a great deal more heat than light during this election season. You haven't always been scientists, by the way, and the transition wasn't easy for some of you. I remember those of you I met at Colloquia who wanted to write your dissertation proving that charter schools were the solution. And I remember those of you who wanted to write your dissertation proving that charter schools were the problem. And I remember how hard it was for both sides to move from that kind of master's level thinking to doctoral thinking. That is, assuming you didn't understand the problem remotely well enough to suggest a solution without first doing the research. And I remember, and so do you, I'll bet, the struggles with mentors and committee members when you thought you'd proven a point, and we thought you'd made an unwarranted, unsubstantiated assumption, and we made you dig deeper, think harder, get to the truth more honestly. Those days are past now. The fact that you've qualified for hooding proves you have demonstrated by your dissertation the ability to think and act like a scientist. That's the bridge you crossed that burned behind you. There is no going back. Why? Because this isn't something you learned. This is something you became when you gave up the ways of the ideologue and took on the ways of the scientist. So when you became a scientist, life got harder, but it got lots better. There's something else I know about you, again, from meeting so many of you at Colloquia. You really do want to change the world, and for the better. Well, sometimes you can't change the world until you've changed yourself, and that's just what you've done. There is something unique about the doctoral hooding ceremony. Hooding marks qualification for membership in a new and exclusive group. You've earned the right to join a brand new Facebook-like page, but it's password protected, and I'm about to grant you access. As a member in good standing in your new group and one of your new friends, I'm qualified to and anxious to repeat to you something that has been said to learners in your position for decades, just like it was said to me back in the day. Graduates, welcome to the community of scholars.